We would like to invite Major General S. Sabazwar. Major General S. Sabazwar is an alumni of RIMC Dehradun and NTA. He has specialized in surveillance and target acquisition and was an instructor of School of Human Violations and providing humanitarian aid to dislocated families. As ADG NCC, 90,000 cadets are currently trained under him in the states of Bihar and Jharkhand, and we are glad to have him here today.
I was just wondering last evening, rather last afternoon when the young lady was there with me, I said, if I look back in last 1 decade, I've been very fortunate, God has been very kind, that I haven't personally experienced hunger in last 10 years, except probably when I must have kept a fast. So to that end, one starts getting, away from the reality. But when I take my mind back, right from what Mr. Sarabjot was saying, the family traditions, but more than that, it was the army training, which actually got me very close to what, hunger and what deprivation could be all about. Mid-70s in NDA and IMA, when we used to have our so-called exercises, which they were supposed to be, battle hardening exercises as they call it, that you are left behind enemy lines and now you have to survive on yourself, without food and water. So we were generally had one, a water bottle and emergency ration in the form of shakar paras. So imagine if you are there in a hill or in a jungle trail, just left to yourself, you have to carry out physical activity and very limited food which is available to you, and you have to manage in that. That gives you a first-hand experience of how you condition yourself physically and mentally to survive in less and learn to respect what food is all about. Thereafter, I had another unique experience as a young officer when I got commissioned. We had gone to Rajasthan. That was the first time I went to Rajasthan in late 81, it was 81, 82. We had a 4 months exercise, and trust me, Rajasthan was not, the deserts of Rajasthan were not what they are today. They were actually desert tracks, and there were less of roads, and there were only desert tracks on which we had to maneuver ourselves. Water, I think scarce word is something which people can't even imagine what scarcity is all about, because there are very few wells, and the water there was all brackish. So you could not bank on the local resources. The IGC canal, the water had not yet started coming up the way it has turned Rajasthan into greenery today. And if I share with you that while food was not an issue because that the mess took care of it, but for our personal needs we were given water, a bucket which was not full for 24-hour cycle. You have to take your bath. You have to do everything in that 24-hour cycle with that just 3/4 bucket of water. And that was the first time for non-stop 4 months one had to survive in that less than a bucket of water. Yes. The positive outcome of that was that even today when I take my bath, I don't use 1 full bucket of water. It is probably half or 2/3 of a bucket. The system has got ingrained into using minimum water to get maximum output out of it. That was at a personal level. Then, when it comes to an organizational level, in 1995, I landed up as a UN peacekeeping observer in Rwanda. They had just had a genocide, and things had started settling down. And so since things were improving, we were told that the mission is now more of a humanitarian mission. So again, imagine a country which has been torn by genocide, and they've had more than, because if I give percentage, it will be a better term, because word million for us looks very small, but a population of a country, if it is just 10-12 millions, then even 1 million is a big number. They had had huge losses in terms of the killings and a lot of destruction to the mankind and the power and the property around, including the animals which they had. So we were actually, that was my first experience working, rubbing shoulders with organizations like ICRC, Human Rights, Concern, CRY, and we used to go together into remote areas. And and that reminds me, because we had an Indian battalion which was there, So we used to pick up their extra rations in terms of biscuits and other things which they had, and we used to carry, because wherever you went, you didn't want to go empty-handed. So while our job was to give reporting of what is required where, but still we wanted to carry something. And that is where Mr. Balakrishnan, what you just mentioned some time back, that when you gave food to that old hungry man, trust me, the time when you would have seen that smile and that gratitude on that man's face, the kind of happiness it would have given you, even if I give you 1 million rupees, will not give you that happiness. That is the happiness you get when you feed actually a person who is actually starving and hungry. I am a Baba Bhakt, and one of the chapters says that the biggest, if you have to do any daan, the most pious form of daan is feeding a hungry man. And not that hungry man should not be your father, mother or somebody, but somebody who has come to you, or you see somebody who is not related to you and you feed him. That is what is the most pious form of doing any dharma. My next encounter was within my own country when I was posted in Srinagar, and when this massive earthquake took place in 2006, I was, one of my responsibility was disaster management. So all along we were more worried about, Srinagar not getting flooded, and suddenly we had this earthquake where Uri and the border around, whatever was there got devastated. So at that time I had closely seen what it is when you lose your everything and how difficult it is to get back to normalcy. Having said that, I feel that, if whatever we do is less. I was just reading yesterday, we talk of figures, I won't like to bore you with figures, but just one thing, that in Britain they carried out a survey that in every household they are wasting about 30% of the food. And out of that 30%, they say at least 60% was avoidable. That means virtually every house is wasting 20% of food which they could have avoided. Now that is for a country like Britain, where infrastructure is much better. But I guess their problem is because they are more into tinned and packed rations, so they don't even realize when the shelf life has gone over. In our country, I think the problem is more like what Mrs. Harjot brought out, is infrastructure related. We do not have, firstly, that kind of infrastructure to preserve what we produce. So in the supply chain itself, the thing gets bad. And somewhere, we talked about our psyche. We have that chalta hai attitude. When I am looking after, I am in charge of a godown which is keeping wheat, which is the government of India has procured with hard-earned money to be given to people. I am not interested whether it is in good condition or in bad condition, because I don't have to eat it. Trust me, I was deployed in Punjab. I have seen FCI godowns because we had to get deployed there. The way food has been kept, probably if you see that, you will realize it's not worth eating. It is because we did not take care, because we did not get mentally and emotionally involved in it. Yes, this food is the nation's property. We need to preserve it. We never did it. I'll only say one thing in the end, that charity begins at home. If we as individuals first start conserving things, I'm sure we can go a long way. And sir, I must say your society is doing a wonderful job, because the first step is awareness. And if we have the awareness, we realize it, because everybody is not privileged enough to first suffer. So most of us who are here are the ones who can actually make the difference, because we are the ones who can change the society. So with that note, thank you everybody. Yeah.